should not really say something here because I just left it generic. It should be more like do something here and do something there. Usually activities have that style of writing. Load stuff, unload stuff, wrap, unwrap. IT testing complete because it's a milestone, it's okay. But the other ones, they will say set up networking, connect all devices. WBS can just be a basket, just says IT work, for example. Furniture related work, moving related work. So hopefully these things make sense. Hopefully I'm adding a bit of practicality to the exam prep course. So this is what we do. We identify activities, we identify the details about them, and required resources so that when we get to the point where we actually have to work on it, we are ready to do it. You know, saying that I want to paint a wall without buying the brush or arranging for the painters, it's not going to happen. You have to have everything else. So along with the activities that were seen before, activity list, you'll see we have the attributes, we have the milestone list, the important notification items for management. And for milestones, you have minor milestones and you have major milestones. Major milestones are really for management. Minor milestones are for us. So you can have different levels of milestones. I have no way of marking it as minor or major on the tool, but some things are for us, some things are for management. We let them know that something significant is complete, like the site is ready, you know, we can do the move, things like that. Now, a lot of times you'll notice that when you are defining activities, you realize that some things are missed, and so you add them. Just like when I was using the software, I figured, you know, maybe for the construction, maybe they need the permit, right? So issue permit. So then at that point, I would make a change, or we would agree on the terms with the contractor of who will do this, who will not. And maybe we realized that we never really discussed the plumbing in the pantry, but you know, maybe it doesn't have the connections, or maybe we realized that we never talked about the electrical outlets, how they're going to be laid out in the new office. So then you add those in there, and that usually would end up being a change request. So this is why you see on the screen, you see that change request is also one of the outputs. Take things back into perspective. You see it here, the outputs on the bottom left, activity list, the attributes, the milestone list, and the change request. That's what you can expect when you define the activities. Once you define the activities, the next logical thing that you will do is you'll sequence them, which you've seen me do. You know, I added dates. Typically, the dates, you leave them till later. Put the sequencing, like which one should happen first, which one should happen next. And you can talk to the specialists themselves who are doing the work and ask them which one happens first, which one happens next. I don't need to be a specialist. And you know, I know you have fears of, I'm not a specialist, I don't know, and they could just lie to me, and they could just give me durations that don't make sense, or tell me that this really has to wait for that. True, they can do that. But in reality, if you are working with contractors, they could deceive you for their financial gain. I get that. But for expertise purposes, most of the time, contractors want to show off that they're experts. They're not going to give you a sense that we're not experts. Employees, on the other hand, are not obligated. So they will push you off. They'll be like, I'm busy, I can't, you know, I don't have time, and, you know, you figure it out. But contractors typically want to show off their expertise. So I wouldn't really have that much of a fear that they will not give me good information. I would have fear of them dragging the work for durations. So for now, for sequencing activities, I'm not as worried. They would tell me that something needs to happen first and something else happens later. But you're always free to ask why, explain to me. So you can use whatever style you like, but they can explain to you why something happens first and why the other is dependent on it. Now, the importance of this is that if I put everything back to back on a schedule, that project's going to take a very long time. So look at these activities that I have here on the screen. If everything is going to be back to back, that means this will never happen that you see on the right. I don't know if you can see my mouse as I move it, but you know, here, if everything has to happen back to back, then this relationship has to go. It means I will never have anything that happens without it being back to back. So everything will have to, okay. So everything is going to look like this. I'm going to remove this. It's going to look like that. And I'm going to remove this. Mind you, just because they're stacked up on top of each other doesn't mean they have to happen in that specific order. They could just jump from here. You know, you could jump from here to here, and then from here to here, and so on. Okay, so you can jump as needed depending on the relationship between the specific activities. So the people involved would have to tell you which ones they are dependent on, and then you will make the connections and you'll end up with a schedule. But you'll notice that just look at these that I don't know if you can see the mouse, but the ones on the right-hand side that I'm clicking, those are back to back. But if I change the relationship by clicking on it, see this says finish to start. But if I went and changed it to start, meaning once the first one starts, the second one can start, and I hit OK, notice what happened to them. They overlap. That means when this first one starts, the other one can now start. It will not start if the first one doesn't start. So let's say I pushed the start date for the first one out. You see the other one also moves with it. It cannot start until the first one starts. It has a dependency on the first one to start. But the fact that it can do start to start allows it to run almost at the same time, which is different than when you have it as finish to start, because now in finish to start, it would have to wait. And that will take longer for the project to complete. So these dependencies need to be figured out so that you can properly develop your schedule. All right. And for you to figure these out, you have to sit with the people involved and ask them to tell you what is the dependency between them. And the dependency is what we're looking at in tools and techniques down here, the dependency determination and integration. You're going to integrate from a contractor, from another team, their own activities, which is the question you were asking me before. I can take from different teams and I will connect the activities together. And there's a few terms you're going to be learning today, this morning. All right. So the terms that you want to learn are the following. We are going to learn PDM, Precedence Diagramming Method. The precedence diagramming method is what you see down here. This is a process of diagramming where each connection, the arrow there, depends on something that precedes it. So this is the precedence diagramming. So something precedes the other. And so it's called precedence diagramming. Or if you want to learn the word, it's PDM that will show up on the exam. It is also called the activity on node because the activity A is on the node that you see here, which is the box. That's what they mean. A long time ago, they had something called activity on arrow, where the box was the connection and the arrow was the activity. And the longer it was, the longer the duration. But now we use the arrow for connection. So basically, every one of these boxes that you see is an activity. And likewise, on my schedule, every one of these that you saw, every one of these bars that you saw here, the ones I'm showing you here, these are all activities. But when we're first starting, notice what they look like. They all look the same. And all we had to do was sequence them and determine which one happens first or next. And I wouldn't really have something dragging out like this while I'm trying to connect them. I can have them stacked up like this one here and just do the connections between them and then figure out how long they take. That's how PMI is suggesting that we do it. First, figure out the connections between them, then figure out how long each is going to take. So we will be learning the PDM, precedence diagramming method, which is what you see down here on this screen. And this one depends on 4 types of relationship. The first one here is the common one, which is finish to start, where it means that one activity has to finish before the other one starts. So you see here, this is the finish part, and this is the start part of the other activity. So it's saying activity A has to finish before activity B can start. So if the activity A was 4 days and activity B was 5 days, you will need 9 days to complete them. Now, sometimes we don't have that kind of dependency. Now, most activities will be like that, but you could have situations where something can start and the